and welcome to my channel Hisame Artwork. Hope you're doing well. So in this video I'm going to go over cheap versus professional grade art supplies and equipment because I know it can be confusing, like what should you get? Should you um, pay for the more expensive stuff or not? And just a bit about me to kind of show you guys what my perspective is on this and what potential biases there may be. So I've been drawing since I was 2 years old, and I went digital when I was 18 and never really looked back. I'm gonna do a video about digital versus traditional as well. But first we're gonna do this video. And just wanted to let you know that initially I wanted to be a scientist, but I ended up as a graphic artist, and now I make my living from drawing and teaching. And hopefully you'll find this video useful and will help you find the right choice for you. So what's the difference? Professional products can be affordable, but they're generally not going to be cheap, and cheap often implies low quality. Like, you can find some pretty good stuff at low prices. For example, in my East European country, there's like this dollar little box of watercolor that is really good, and it survived for over 80 years. Like, I think it was a kingdom, and then we had 50 years of communism, and now we're a democracy, and they're still making those paints at a really low price. But generally, if it's gonna be limited in what it can do, so I'm gonna get more into that. Firstly, I just want you to be aware of the difference and buy accordingly once you have enough information. Because it's going to differ from country to country, and like what is available for purchase in your area, the shipping, and things like that, and what maybe your own country is doing and nobody else knows about these paints, for example, from my country. And why does this matter? Well, because, like I said, it can be difficult to decide what to buy, and kids, for example, manifest a passion for a job at different ages, so it can be hard to tell. You might think your child's interested in it, and in the end, they might not be. I would say that teenage years are like the best decision years. Like, the child is more aware, the teenager actually is more aware of what they like, and they're starting to think about what they might do for the rest of their lives. So, a disinterested child that is just a hobby, then yeah, buy the cheapest stuff and make sure it's washable. Often washable colors are very bad for making art because they don't last. You splash a bit of water and you've ruined everything. But if they're painting on your walls or your good furniture, then yeah, you want to go for the washable stuff. Disinterested adult that is just doing it for a hobby, then yeah, you can go for amateur products. I generally don't recommend you go buy kids stuff because, again, they're washable, and even if you're just doing it for a hobby, you'll want it to last for more than a year. And really, kids washable stuff, like after a few months the color fades, and so it's not good for use if you're an adult and you're proud of your terrible illustration, but you want something to decorate your house, then go for the amateur products. So kind of middle price range. Always ask, like the seller, if it's an art and hobby shop, and I would recommend you go to an art and hobby shop, because at the supermarket or like one of those big shopping centers, the employees don't know the products and they don't care, and they'll just give you a generic answer. But if you go to an art and hobby shop where the employees actually know the products and might actually even be using them, then you will get much better answers for each individual item if it's good for you. Now, if you're buying for your child and you have a talented child that is considering this as a career path and you want to support them, again, start with amateur products. And personally, when it comes to tablets and electronics, I guess you could go for a middle quality tablet. My sister has a medium-sized Huion. Huion are pretty good and they're really cheap for what they can do. It's way better now than when I started using digital tablets. Kind of Wacom was the only one. I started with Wacom. It's one of the best products, and I'm still using Wacom. So my first tablet, I think, was an Intuos 3. Large size. Large size is too big. Unless you're having a Cintiq, don't get a large size. For Intuos, get a medium. It's a lot easier to transport. Personally, I don't recommend tablets with screen in them. You can check out my video on that, why I don't. I think it's a waste of money if you're young and adaptable. But if you're like older and or you're just you have two left hands, maybe then get a Cintiq if it helps you. I think personally it's a waste of money. You just need to put a bit of effort into rewiring your brain and your eye and your hand. So my tablet that it's 14 years old now. It's still working. So my original Intuos 3 Wacom tablet, and now I have another Wacom tablet, medium size, the Pro one. They changed the name and upgraded some stuff. It's 7 years old and it's still working just fine. The only problem I would say is that the top layer of the plastic has become very smooth, so I don't have that papery texture anymore. I wish it was Wacom would give the possibility to replace that top layer. Unfortunately, it doesn't. And I'm not gonna buy another tablet because it's working just fine. Why would I? So that's kind of how it is. I recommend you go check out my video on tablets with screen, without screen, and all my other rest of videos to kind of give you more insight into these things, to make better choices for yourself. And if you're an adult and you have some talent, skill, and things like that, and you're doing this just for a hobby, you can use amateur products, of course. And I think if you have the budget, go for pro products. First of all, because the pro products, especially in, because in electronics, the gap between product quality has decreased, and you're having like better and better equipment for lower prices. But when it comes to traditional painting, money really counts, especially in watercolors. Like and in oil, like all of them are expensive. There's no really good cheap oil paints. But in watercolor, you can have like more affordable ones that you can get around, and you can have the really high-end pro ones that I've never had the opportunity to even use because they're so expensive sometimes. And oh my god, the paper and watercolor painting can get so expensive. It pains me when I see the prices. That's one of the reasons I'm fully digital. Not just the convenience, but also the expenses and the space you need, like art studio. There are a lot of wonderful watercolor artists on YouTube. I have them in my recommendations list of channels to watch. You can go check out there. They kind of show you the difference between different kinds of watercolor products. When you buy better paper and better watercolor, it counts so much. I've received as gifts some of these products from friends and family because I wouldn't have spent the money on it. I'm like, I feel like it's such an extravagance for me personally, since I am a digital artist. I'm not a traditional artist, so I treat traditional art more as a hobby and as an educational way for me to kind of expand my skill set and get a better understanding of also all the digital programs that simulate watercolors. So kind of looking at it from that perspective, and I can definitely say that pro products, the expensive stuff, really does count when it comes to traditional art. So if you're a hobbyist and you have the money, I would recommend starting with amateur products as the level of quality and then moving into pro. Just know that it can become an expensive hobby. Of course, there are other very expensive hobbies as well, like motorbikes and boating and things like that. If you compare art, might not be that bad of a hobby. Might be cheaper. Um, so yeah, and of course, if you're a professional artist, you already know what's good for you. You don't need you don't need me to tell you what products to buy, what prices to go for. Always do, your research, like look at what's available in your shops, write down the names, Mugyo, for example, and then go look at reviews for Mugyo watercolors. I would say that watercoloring is way easier than acrylics and oil, especially for beginners that don't have the patience. And if you're looking for digital electronics to do some art, I would recommend Wacom. If you don't have the money for Wacom, get a Huion. There are a lot of tablets out there. I don't know all of them. I generally wouldn't recommend them. I've tried a bunch of tablets from friends and family that didn't want to invest the money in a Wacom for various reasons, and they were so bad, like I couldn't use them. But then again, I was doing it at a professional level. I would say the biggest issue is the ease of use, the wider range of use, and they last longer, both the components and the colors if you invest more money. Like these are kind of my top 10 reasons why you should go for pro versus cheap, and the experience that you have counts a lot. So for example, if it's difficult to do something, because for example you're using cheap watercolors, and I keep giving the watercolor um, example because I think it's a lot easier for you to understand than if I would explain how it feels with the stylus. So everybody has painted, I think, at some point in their lives on paper with some colors. So you watch a tutorial online and you see a pro use um, cold press cotton and some fancy pants. Oh, Newton and ham something something watercolors are like really expensive. Um, and you see them use those, and they're doing these amazing watercolors, and it looks so beautiful, and your looks like trash, and you think, oh, it's my fault because I'm a bad artist, and it doesn't matter um, the art supplies, because I saw a post on Facebook and it says it doesn't matter, you can make art out of ketchup, blah blah blah. Thing is, it's harder to do art with coffee, with tea, with ketchup. It's better to use professional art supplies. You're gonna get so much better results. Of course, you can have the best watercolors in the world and still have crappy art, but if you invest in your skills, the time and patience and effort to level up your skills, then you can use the professional watercolors and get similar results to the professionals. So it's a double investment, both in the supplies and your time and effort. And if you're using bad supplies, it can impact your experience and you might never get into that hobby. For example, a lot of people um, try a very bad bike and they fall in a ditch and they hurt themselves and they're like, I'm never gonna bike again, biking is horrible, or I'm never gonna swim because swimming is horrible. Well, if there's a difference if you're swimming in a tropical paradise compared to an open sewage, or for example, I've always liked bicycling, and I've used kind of what bikes I could afford or I got from other people. Then I met my husband, who's really passionate about biking, and he had way better bikes than me. And he gave me a really good bike to try, and I was like, oh my god, I'm having an epiphany. What a huge difference. This is so much more fun to bike on a good bike than it is on my average mediocre bike that I could barely afford and I needed to save several months from my salary to buy. So, you can do more with better products. You can use them in more diverse ways, and the color is gonna last longer, even when it's hit by sun. And if you're talking about electronics like the pen pressure, um, how you can use the brushes, and because you have digital brushes, and then of course my Wacom, for example, it's been 14 years and it's still working. So this is kind of my insight on using professional or semi-professional products versus like the cheapest stuff that you can find, and also professional versus amateur stuff. Like the better stuff that you can get will make things better for you, but also you have to like invest time and effort into upgrading your skill. Because if you have like a really awesome car, if you can't get the car to start and drive on the road, then it doesn't matter that you have an awesome car. You're never gonna experience anything good from it if you don't learn how to drive first. So, like I said before, start with cheaper stuff and then work your way up. Um, don't be afraid to try new things if you can afford it. And yeah, I would say that in conclusion, if you have the budget, if you're adaptable or you're a beginner, maybe just try stuff first. See if you have any friends that are passionate about these things, and ask them to try stuff out. Some shops will give you demos to kind of try things out, and then you can decide later what fits you and your needs. Also, very good that we have a lot of YouTube videos that we can kind of get some ideas from, and international shipping. I myself am looking to buying some stuff just for fun, so maybe I'll do some reviews on traditional products as well. Generally, I focus on the digital. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.